Episode 24, Martin and Marlow, Martin Kilcoyne, Charlie Marlow. What comes to mind? I love the number. I could do this the entire show. People like this stuff. You've always said people like this stuff. I like stupid. You like stupid. The other night, we'll get back to number 24 while you have a chance to think. The famous 24s. Sitting around the fire, kids are arguing about their favorite candy bars. And they were saying, ooh, Three Musketeers is gross. And I said to my wife, those are gone. Like, you don't see them anymore. And I said, this would be a really good topic for me and Charlie. She said, really? That's all you have? Nobody? Have you listened? This is all we have. We'll get back to it. Candy bar rankings, maybe another show. 24s, Chuck. What do you got? Think.
Okay, first of all, really quick, these kids are nuts because Three Musketeers are actually pretty good. I would say they're an underrated candy bar.
I disagree.
Okay, well, we can get to that later. 24, obviously one of Kobe's 2 numbers. Was he 8 longer? I can't remember. Why did he even switch just to sell jerseys? I can't remember why he was 2 numbers.
We'll edit this out later. I'm not sure. There's probably a reason why.
Right. But
was he honoring his dad or something? I mean, I don't know.
So Kobe Bryant, and I'm not good with jersey numbers. Was Ricky Henderson 24 or 25?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think he might have been 24. I was thinking Willie Mays.
Okay.
Just like, I mean,
That's
I'm older than you, but I didn't see Willie Mays play. And then I'm not a NASCAR nut, but Tail Candy Martin remembered Jeff Gordon.
Oh, of course. The 24 car.
Because there's not a lot of
DuPont.
Like 24s that jump out at you. For the Rams, Trung candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Because he didn't stand out, and neither did his number. I mean, 24 was... Anyway, we'll look it up. Are you looking it up? What do you got? What, Ricky was 24, right?
Ricky Henderson for the A's was 24. And by the way, when I said Willie Mays, I know a lot about Willie Mays. I'm not good with jersey numbers, though, especially of older players.
Yeah, I don't think you were rude about. You were just saying he's an older player.
No, I'm saying it's not like who's Willie Mays. Right. I'm just not good with jersey numbers.
We do have a lot to get to, but daily video, which comes out every once in a while, right? You did one on the tweener month of November. It was kind of Seinfeldian take, right? What's the deal with November? It's not Christmas. It's not Halloween. But I looked and everybody was commenting on your coat, and I have to say, I like the coat. It wasn't that puffy. It's like, is any coat that's slightly down, does that warrant a puffy joke?
I think it's actually a cool coat. I just bought it. Nowadays, people just want to criticize you for anything. I'm fine with it. It was a stupid video. By the way, they're all stupid videos. I'm trying to be stupid, and hopefully if you can
it's working. It's working.
Thank you. Hopefully if you can get a little chuckle or even make fun of me, it's fine. But I do think I was talking with my buddies about, do you bust out the Christmas decorations early? Do you kind of wait till after Thanksgiving? And my message was, do whatever you want, first of all, any year, but in a year like COVID 2020 where everything sucks, do whatever makes you happy. And you know what? Put that Christmas tree up right now and get a nice solid 2 months bang for your buck. Get your usage out of your tree and all those decorations that you have down in your basement.
You know what's going on right now is not a lot of games, not a lot of sports going on a Monday, Tuesday. Sure, Monday Night Football, and even though the Bears suck and the Vikings aren't that good, thank God it's on. It's on. Like, I guarantee every sports office in America has the game on. But Tuesday, Wednesday, it gets quiet. But there's a lot of sports news. There's a lot of stuff that's been coming out. Most of it, to me, is like about the money involved, right? When Will Muschamp gets fired at South Carolina, he gets between 12 and 15 million to go away. Is that not the best gig in the world? Like Ron Zook got like 7 or 8 million from Illinois. The best gig ever is to be fired. As a college football coach is getting fired is my goal in life.
It's really unbelievable that this is still a thing. And this has been going on for 10, 15 years. If you bring up the Charlie Weiss situation, it's just absolutely unbelievable. Like, you would think that these colleges would have fixed this by now. It's like the NFL. When they started giving these number one picks, these ridiculous $50 million signing bonuses like Jamarcus Russell and Jason Smith of the Rams, after a while you had these huge busts and you had to pay them $50 million. And the NFL said, this doesn't make any sense. Let's change this. And yet still, if any college football coach, let's say they're in year 1 or 2 of a 4-year deal, if they have a good season in year 1 or 2, they all of a sudden, every single one of them, get to rip that deal up and get like a 4 or 5 year extension just put right on top of it. And then it happens all the time. A year and a half later, after they go 5-7, and then they're 3-5 in that next season, they're fired, and they get paid for like 5 seasons. And it happens all the time. It makes no sense.
And then Greg Marshall gets asked to leave, I guess, Wichita State, which, by the way, nobody at the Valley will ever say it on the record. They're too nice. Like, the people at the Valley are like the nicest people, which is why it stood out. Wichita State was kicking ass. And it was great for the Valley because they did make it to the Final Four. They were weren't they a number one seed one year in the NCAA tournament?
Well, remember that year, it was here in St. Louis, right, where they lost to the Kentucky team that was awesome. I believe Kentucky was seeded like 9th. So they both win their first round game. And this top-seeded Wichita State team has to play an unbelievable team full of NBA players in Kentucky that was, I think, a 9 seed. Maybe an 8 or 9.
Do you think the tournament did that to them? Like, do you think they actually set up a mid-major? Like, we don't want a mid-major advancing. Do you believe that?
I think there's some politics to that, definitely. That's why they always say in the NCAA tournament, we don't try to go for storylines, but yet it always seems to be the former coach versus
Bill Self ends up in the Illini bracket.
Every year. Yeah.
But Wichita State was great, but Greg Marshall was sort of known around anybody who covered that tournament, covered that league. He was difficult. No surprise. I mean, not surprising. You never want to hear about any kind of abuse, physical, mental, whatever. But not surprising that he was kind of a dick around the campus in the stories that you read. He gets $8 million to leave. Again, like, you don't want to go out. Like, Will Muschamp didn't do anything wrong except lost football games. Greg Marshall, obviously there were behavioral issues. He gets $8 million to leave. Again, and these are schools that are probably telling, like, the science lab, we really can't afford the janitor anymore on Fridays. You're going to have to dissect those frogs and clean them up yourselves. I mean, I would just be so pissed off. I know it's not apples to apples because they bring in big money and they have big donors in a lot of these sports, less so at Wichita State. It's more amazing how they were able to pull it off, paying him like $2 million a year down there. But I could see being a history associate professor and saying, this sucks.
Absolutely. And you would think, too, couldn't you take Greg Marshall to court if you wanted to? I'm sure there's got to be a clause in there somewhere where you can't physically abuse your players. And being down there at the Valley for some of those years when Greg Marshall was there, I have to say, you could just tell he was a dick. And there are some people where you just look at them and you know they're an asshole, and this just certified that, right? Like, didn't we all think Greg Marshall was a dick? I'm not saying we thought that he was this Bobby Knight type of basically grabbing players' necks, but you knew he was an a-hole, and this basically just proves it.
It's like the X-rated version of Martin and Marlow. I like it. We're speaking the truth, Chuck.
Well, it's true.
It's what the people want.
He was a jerk in the press conferences at the Valley.
Every year. Every year you knew that. But he's laughing because he gets $8 million on the way out. Also a guy who was making a ton, but now is going to make none, is Theo Epstein, who was making $10 million a year or whatever it was, walks away a year early, and he deserves all the credit. Like, there's nothing we need to say about Theo that hasn't already been said, right? The Cubs winning, the Red Sox winning, that's historic. To do that twice, but they also had tons of money. They tanked for a while, built it back up. But to me, the more relevant story in St. Louis is that, okay, compare those eras. Now, granted, they tanked for a while, but on Theo's watch, they won 3 division titles since he was there. In that same stretch, the Cardinals won 3 division titles. Cubs went to 5 postseasons. Cardinals went to 6. And by the way, I looked all this up. Cubs won 19 postseason games with Theo. During that same stretch, the Cardinals won 25. So as great as they've been, it's not like unbelievable. And I think the fact that the dynasty didn't happen is probably a relief to the Cardinals, the organization, but also to the fan base. Like, he did a really good job, but you have to stop a little short of sainthood, I think, with Theo.
I don't know, because when you break the 2 biggest curses in sports, I mean, to break the Red Sox curse and the Cubs curse, and I think, especially with the Cubs, they sold out for the championship. I mean, in any other year, they're not going to trade Gleyber Torres, who they know is unbelievable, for what, 50, 60 games of Aroldis Chapman. But they did all those things to break this ridiculous curse and finally get the monkey off their back. The Cubs were really good for, the last 5-6 years. They weren't great this year, but they were a force for 5 or 6 years, and they won 1 championship. That happens a lot to teams. What I will say about Theo, though, is I love Theo Epstein. I love his press conferences and joking around and putting on the disguise and walking out of Fenway back in the day and loving Pearl Jam and all that. And he's very introspective, and he says a lot of things that make sense. And today he said basically, look, I'm really good at, or I have a proven track record of transforming franchises, but let's be real, I haven't been as good in maintaining them afterwards, after winning that championship. Then the other thing he said that I really liked was he said the analytics movement in baseball, it's made baseball.
The great Mandy Murphy is walking by the way.
She
Let's
is.
give a shout out here, okay?
See ya, Mandy.
This is a cameo here on the Martin and Marlow Emmy Award-winning podcast.
I can't believe Mandy Murphy didn't want to stay.
She ran for the door.
But also the fact that I was midpoint. I had a really good point here about Theo Epstein. She didn't care at all. She just walked right out the door. No, but
she was trying to be polite.
Right.
It seemed that way, like she was walking gingerly, but I also think she couldn't give two shits about what we were talking about.
100%, and I get it, absolutely. But what Theo Epstein said today was the analytics movement, basically, it's made baseball smarter, and I agree with this. But some of baseball's existential problems have also been caused by the analytics movement because it's made the game aesthetically worse and less entertaining. And he flat out said that. He said, people like me and basically this analytics movement, okay, it's changed the game, but has it changed it for the better when it's just strikeouts and walks and there's no balls put in play and a lot of the athleticism of the players is not on display? I thought that was great that he realizes that.
You think he'd be a good commissioner? You think he'd want to do that? I mean, a guy who's been in the game, or is that too boring? If you're somebody like him that has a chance to be involved in winning and losing, commissioner. I mean, we used to always think like the smartest guy in the room, Bob Costas on baseball or Whitey Herzog. I mean, we were provincial here thinking those names first. But it used to be like, oh my God, he'd be a great commissioner. Nobody really says it anymore. Maybe it's just because you're a puppet and there's no real power. But I do wonder what he would do next. And I think that position of he made $10 million a year for the last, 5-6 years, whatever it is. And next year he's basically said, I'm going to do nothing. And if you're Will Muschamp, even Greg Marshall, the disgraced, wouldn't that be isn't 2021 the best year to do nothing because of everything that's uncertain, unknown, maybe travel a little bit if that's available. If I had that kind of pile of money just being thrown at me, I'd honestly go do some charity work and just lay low, meet my buddies for lunch, hang out with the family.
Golf.
It's the best time you don't even golf.
Well, I know, but I would start golfing.
You'd
I
have
would
the time.
Start golfing and have the time to golf. I think also what Theo said about, look, it's kind of that 10-year thing where the message gets stale after 10 years. You move on. You re-challenge yourself. It's hard not to get complacent anywhere. Sports, your job, after a certain period of time. And he realizes that, and he kind of moves on. And getting back to college football, it's kind of the model of Urban Meyer. And I know some people will say that, well, at the end, things always go to crap, whether it's because at Florida he has a bunch of guys that are getting arrested all the time, whatever happened at Ohio State with the assistant coach and basically Urban Meyer being a win-at-all-costs head football coach, which he absolutely is. But his model is kind of come in, be great, win a national championship. It burns out, whether he has health problems or there's off-the-field issues, then he goes somewhere else, goes to Ohio State, is amazing there, but it lasts about 7 years. And come on, he's doing TV now. You know he's going to be back in a year or two. And then he recharges his batteries. He's going to be at USC or Notre Dame somewhere here soon. I promise you he's not done. And Theo's not done either.
Didn't Tom Herman already say, down in Texas, please stop with the Urban Meyer? Or, I don't know if he said it by name, but hasn't he already basically said, quit talking about Urban Meyer, you're hurting? And that's usually a sign of a coach in trouble. When you start saying, don't talk about, you have to ignore that stuff. I thought he referenced Urban Meyer. Did he?
He definitely did, but I don't know if that's about Urban Meyer taking over his job or the fact that, remember, Herman was the offensive coordinator on the national championship team with Zeke Elliott, and everybody basically insinuated that Tom Herman was the leak. What's the assistant coach's name? Zach? I forgot his name. The guy who
Smith,
was crazy.
wasn't it?
Zach Smith. So basically everybody insinuated that the leak to the media about the Zach Smith and Urban Meyer situation was Tom Herman. So Tom Herman and his wife, there's been going back and forth with Urban Meyer and all the Ohio State people. So I think they hate each other for many reasons.
Triad Bank, one of our great sponsors. Find them on the web. It's triadbanking.com. St. Louis-based bank since 2005, located in Frontenac on Clayton Road, easy to get to. And if you're a business owner in St. Louis, make sure you're dealing with a bank that is based right here. Marita Villa Senior Living, Clayton and Wideman Road. That's the intersection where you can find the finest senior living since 1960. Get a virtual tour at mariedevilla.com. Also, appliance discounters, 4 area locations on the web, theappliancediscounters.com. And my folks at B&G Tuck Pointing, Cousin Nick listens to the show in Minnesota. Cousin John is your neighbor. Didn't appreciate the fact we mentioned you might be throwing leaves down the back hill, dog poop into his pool. Cousin John listens to Cousin Nick in Minnesota, said, wow, I don't hear a lot of commercials for tuck pointing. And I said, see, the people are listening, the best in the bricks for a reason. Then you have, of course, the award-winning Marlow Moments.
Can I say first real quick, one of your sponsors, Appliance Discounters, I actually had 2 things go wrong with a rental property within like 3 weeks. It was an oven, and then it was a microwave, and I called Appliance Discounters for both of them. I didn't have to go in. I just called them. I said, here it is. They
Give me the cheapest item from my tenant you can find.
No. They're very reasonably priced. But they just said, okay.
They're the best.
Seriously.
I was concerned about
No,
you.
I give my tenants the greatest things, okay? The greatest things, okay? No, but I got the oven from them and the microwave, and you don't even have to go in. They just say, okay, what do you want? Size, color, boom, we're going to install it. Boom, it's like the easiest thing ever. Okay, Marlow Moments, we're doing Kennelwood Pet Resorts, of course, boarding, grooming, training, everything for your pets. We've taken our dog Otis there for 6 years. Corner Butcher in Fenton, I go there now once a week. I love to just grill like a ton of stuff. Yesterday, I grilled hot dogs, pork steak burgers, cheese-infused hamburgers. I got some fillets. I got some twice-baked potatoes. They have everything.
Were you wearing your puffy coat?
Not for that, because I was close to the grill, and I was also drinking. So
Your Breckenridge?
Yes.
A lot of comments on the beer, too.
Christmas ale, 'tis the season. And then, of course, St. Louis Lawn Care, St. Louis Equipment. Call them for all your mower needs and your lawn care needs. Get a head start on the spring. They'll winterize your lawn, or they can do leaves and all that, because nobody likes raking and blowing leaves.
Best line I heard this week, credit to John Carney, who I do some radio segments with on KTRS. We were talking about the Gretzky household and said, how tough is this? Because if you go there at the holidays, it is Wayne Gretzky sitting there. It's his house, or he's at the party. Greatest hockey player ever. Oh, there's Dustin Johnson. Just won the Masters. Carney said, you got the great one and the green one. I'm like, yep, the green one, the great one. Then Paulina's got some fame of her own. But the Masters took place, which was great. It was kind of fun having it in mid-November. College football is great. But it does all, and we talked a little bit off air about this, a lot of it, not complaining, because it's great to have sports. It'd be hypocritical as a sports guy. I'm glad the NFL, I'm happy as hell. There's a game Monday, there's a game Thursday, something to do. If you're into gambling, it's something to gamble on. There's been great NFL action, big plays, fun finishes. To their credit, they've given us a ton of material. But it does all feel a little bit hollow. Like, it doesn't, like, even I think Cardinal fans, when they bowed out, were kind of disappointed. Oh, well, it's over. It didn't feel the same. And maybe that's inevitable. Maybe there's no way for it to feel normal this year. But maybe hollow is the wrong word, but it just doesn't feel the same. None of it.
100%. And I've said this all year long. I don't take anything away from any of the teams that win a championship in 2020. You can make the argument it's more difficult with all the stops and starts and the protocols and all that you have to be more focused. That said, especially from a viewing standpoint, to me, it's just not the same. It's not the same energy without fans. I'm frankly less interested this year. I'm just being honest. I do think the NFL, the pro sports, in my opinion, have been much better. They've pulled it off. They have the resources. They have the money. It's professional athletes. They have different protocols. I just think with college football, it feels just kind of like a chamois type season. I'm glad they're playing. I like watching a game if I can. But if you're listening to Eli Drinkwitz, his press conference every week, I mean, you can feel the frustration. They haven't played in 3 weeks. He's having to switch offensive linemen to the defensive line. I mean, are they even able to practice with normal numbers? You're trying to count your scholarship players. Maybe at the end, you're going to have a team that's 6-0 from a Pac-12 or a Big Ten. There's going to be teams that played 10 games from the SEC. Why they didn't expand the playoff also this year, that was really stupid, in my opinion.
That said, it's been fun. We've talked about it. The local kids, And sometimes the TKO, Chuck, doesn't write itself. Although the greatest compliment I ever got about the nightly commentary on Fox 2 was also the biggest insult. My mom, this is years ago.
The Blitz?
Not the Blitz. Hey, I like that Killcoin Inquisition you do every night. Hey, when's that Killcoin episode? No, my mom said, I really like the TKOs. And I said, oh, thanks. She goes, now who writes those? That's the whole point. That's also my mom said, I like Charlie a lot. And I said, easy. She's like, no, he reminds me of you. And she said, but he's younger and better looking. Yeah. Okay, stop. But sometimes the TKOs kind of happen on accident. And it was just given credit the other day to Isaiah Williams because Illinois has been bad. They've been boring. I'm like, hey, the St. Louis kid, at least he's got some pizzazz. Passing numbers weren't great. Obviously, the rushing numbers were. And as I'm writing it all about, hey, you got to stick with this kid because at least he's making it fun because they might go back to the other starter, Brandon Peters. I said, you know what? Saving sports this year for the Brewers bullpen, for the Notre Dame running game, it's not just kids from St. Louis. Kids named Williams. Kyron Williams, Devin Williams, Isaiah Williams. That was a TKO that probably won't win any awards, but it all came together, I'd say at about 10-15.
Ooh, and they're all Williams. I never thought of that. And see, you make fun of, as you should, the daily video. The reason I don't do them every day is because I have nothing to say most days. Now, you actually have to do for the Killcoin Blitz. You have to do that 5 days a week, okay? I only have something interesting to say maybe once a week, right?
And who writes those for you?
Do
you write them out?
No, I just do them.
Did you redo and are there retakes?
There's
like the wind chimes did hit at a certain point. It seemed to be culminating with a great. Was Jess in the background waving the wind chimes?
I had to say now, Chris Gardner, who we love, if he listens to this,
probably not.
No, I think he might actually listen. He and Straubinger are probably the only.
This is our chance to find out. Is Brendan Schaefer listening? Is Chris Gardner listening?
But
yeah, he's drafting his 18th fantasy team.
I know that the wind chimes did go off, and Guardsy made a comment, and I will just say that the wind chimes, they're in honor of people who have passed, okay? So every time those wind chimes chime, and they do often in our backyard, those are people from heaven who are sending us messages, okay? So it's a beautiful thing.
Okay, and he was making fun of your extreme wealth by having wind chimes. I just thought the timing was, I just pictured Jess off to the side, kind of like a Yoko Ono playing like an instrument, just adding to the...
Well, I mean, I flubbed some words, definitely, so I'll have to do a retake. And as we've discussed before, no one cares about this, but for whatever reason, you can't put a cell phone video onto Twitter that's over 220. So sometimes I will have to look down and rush it, knowing I'm at like 2:15 and just end it.
Kind of like this. We're over 20 minutes. Every drive in St. Louis. We are here. Martin and Marlow are here for your drive around town. Chuck says everything's 20 minutes away. That means next week we'll break down the best candy bars. We'll debate the Three Musketeers, the Snick. Like kids get all that Halloween candy. When your kids get older, you'll find out. They'll just toss aside like a Milky Way. Like, wow, not bad. They're like Three Musketeers, trash. My kids, Snickers, trash. I'm like, bring it on.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. Well, we got time next week. Chuck, have yourself a great week. Looking forward to the next somewhat daily video.
Thank you, Martin. You have a great week, too.